back, fellow shop rats. It's another Talk About It Tuesday, and today we're going to talk about money. Yes, today we're going to talk about expenses in the shop, my attitudes, my approach, and well, it's not just about being cheap. There's some different ways of thinking that I'd like to share with you, and that is what this channel is all about. I'm Mike.
This is My Cars Shop.
Being a person in business, I have spent a fair bit of time studying money and how it works, and studying the lifestyles and attitudes of millionaires, and then study the lifestyles and attitudes of billionaires. And by the way, they're much different. And I've studied things from a wealth management perspective, and I've also studied things from an economist's perspective. And that doesn't mean that I've got it all figured out, but I definitely have learned some things. I've been very successful, and I've been dirt poor and even been homeless. So I've been the full gamut with things, and I have some things to say and to share about all of that as it relates to the shop and collector cars and all that kind of stuff. So here we go. My buddy Mark is going to have a lot to say about it, I'm sure, and he may not put it here in the comments, but I'm sure that he and I will have a discussion about it because he spent his entire career in wealth management. One of the things I want to start out with saying is that rich people aren't wealthy, and wealthy people are not rich. Now, I know that's a controversial statement, but I know he's going to know exactly what I'm talking about. Rich people are generally high-income, big spenders. I call them HIBs. They make a ton of money and they spend a ton of money. And most rich people, should they lose their income sources, would be dirt poor just like that. Wealthy people, on the other hand, have good income streams, good resources, cash reserves, and they could lose their income streams and be just fine for the rest of their lives and still have a good nest egg to pass on to future generations. Wealthy people actually don't spend tons of money, and that's the difference between the wealthy and the rich. Wealthy people understand that a penny saved is a penny earned, and a penny not spent is a penny kept. Now that sounds ridiculous, I know, but it's true. They believe in being very frugal. They don't live like they're rich. They live moderate lifestyles and really recognize the value of the dollar and don't spend any more than they have to. Now, how does that apply to the shop? Well, I was thinking about this yesterday because I was painting the grill for the 47 Ford, and I don't think you're going to see that episode until another week or so. But as I was painting the grill, I was thinking about the paint cup that is on my paint gun. I have both plastic and aluminum, and in this case I was using the aluminum cup, and I was thinking about the plastic cups that you can buy with the cup liners and so forth, so that you don't have to do any cleanup, and how nice that would be. Now, I know those things are not very expensive at Harbor Freight, but I thought, I just don't want to spend the money. It's not that I'm cheap. What it caused me to think about is how many of these little $10, $15, $20, $30, $40, $50 items we spend money on without even thinking about it, and how quickly that adds up to hundreds and even thousands of dollars. Statistically, from what I remember, from what I've read and what I've heard, people that come into millions of dollars are generally bankrupt in 5 years. And that's a sobering statistic when you think about it. We all think, man, if I could just win the lottery, oh man, I'd be set for life. 80% of people blow through that money like there's no tomorrow. It goes very quickly, actually one bite at a time. A little bite here, a little bite there, a little bite here, a little bite there, a little bite here, a little bite, and before long, big, huge amounts of money have been spent in small quantities. Now, sometimes people come into a lot of money and they do go out and they buy a new car and whatever. I remember years ago, somebody won the lottery, and the first thing they did was go out and buy a brand new conversion van and a brand new Eagle Talon TSI. Tells you the era. It was in the 90s, right around 1990. actually, and they went out and bought a brand new house. And I didn't know anything about money back then, but my thought was, I'm not very smart. I'm not a smart man. But I know buying cars, especially new cars, is the worst, absolute worst thing you can do with money, because the day you drive it off the lot, you lose between $2,000 and $4,000 just like that, and they continue to depreciate every year, and within 5 years, they're worthless. Those two vehicles together were close to $100,000. Now, the person had won, I think, $1.5 million or something like that. So take 50% of that at least in taxes, and they had, say, $700,000 left. I don't know the numbers for sure, but just recognize that's the reality of most of those situations. And they spent, of that, let's say they had 700 left, they spent 100 of it just on cars. And then they bought a house for a couple hundred. So they only had a few $100,000 left out of the gate. Being frugal doesn't mean you're cheap. When I did the $5 paint job, is actually what it cost to paint the fender and door on Becky's truck, I wasn't doing it to be cheap. I was doing it for a couple of other reasons. One being I wanted to see what it would turn out like to just simply scuff it down, take one of those special foam rollers, and just roll on that Rust-Oleum satin black right out of the can. Now, I didn't want to spend hundreds of dollars on the paint job on that truck because it's going to get beat through the woods and scratched up, and I wanted something that was going to be easy to fix, and eventually the whole truck will be satin black. But it was more of a curiosity thing, value for the dollar, and I think that's key. So to go back to my paint cup story, yes, I could go buy one of those plastic cups with the paint liners and all of that, and that would be very acceptable. But where do you draw the line? How long does it take me to swish out the cup and wipe it out when I'm done with the paint job versus throwing away a plastic liner? Not that much time, a little bit of thinner, and it's all done. Now, if I was painting every single day, it would make sense because I would go through $20 or $30 worth of paint thinner every week to clean my paint cups, right? But for as little as I paint, economically, it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't cost me anything except the thinner to clean the gun. I don't have to keep repurchasing paint cup liners. I know they're only a few cents a piece. But the point is, the wealth mindset says, look at the value for the dollar and look at the return on what you're spending, and is it worth it? Every decision that I make in the shop is based upon that value proposition and that return on investment. Is it worth the money? Am I going to be losing my shirt? Am I going to be able to get back out of this what I'm spending? Or is it a convenience that's worth the money to me? Or is it something that I'm going to be using long term? I tend to not look at buying things for the shop as investment spending. So don't get me wrong, because it is to some degree a hobby, although there is income associated with it, both with the YouTube channel and also when I do work for other people. So it's not completely like I am basket weaving and not selling the baskets, but just giving them away, and I'm buying a basket loom and looking at that as an investment. That's different. Okay, so for pure hobby's sake, hobby is just an investment in yourself. But there is some business elements to what I do in the shop, so I do think about that. I mean, I have literally of thousands of dollars worth of tools in the shop, and that's been over years and years of working professionally in body shops and as a mechanic, and that has paid for itself many times over. It's been a great investment. But overall, especially with what I'm doing here on YouTube, it's always about choosing to view things through a wealth mindset and not just being rich. For most of us, we have a very limited resource pool to work with when it comes to doing the hobby. And it's very easy to get caught up in the mindset that, if I need it, I'm going to go buy it. If I need it, I'm going to go buy it. If I need it, I'm going to go buy it. I'm not saying that's wrong. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that's wrong at all. What I am saying is, have you considered looking at it a different way and reducing the amount of money you're spending so that you can have a bigger nest egg in your bank account, even if it's just for future projects? So that's my talk about it for today. Drop your comments down there. I'm sure this is a hot topic. Drop your thoughts. I look forward to hearing what you have to say. We'll catch you on the next one. Rock!